There's a country where people disappear in the middle of the night. One moment, they're sleeping in their beds. The next moment, they're gone. Their families wake up and the person is just missing. No goodbye. No explanation. Just empty space where someone used to be. This isn't a ghost story. This is real. And it happens in North Korea. Imagine living in a place where saying the wrong thing could make you vanish. Where watching a movie from another country could cost you your life. Where even thinking different thoughts might be dangerous. For over 26 million people, this isn't imagination. It's everyday life. Subscribe to uncover the truth. Comment below what you already know about North Korea. Most of us have never been to North Korea. The government doesn't let many people in, and they definitely don't let their own people out. It's like a giant locked room, and the government holds the only key. But some people have escaped. And when they finally felt safe enough to talk, they told stories that sound impossible. Stories that investigators spent years confirming were actually true. Let's start with something that sounds simple: the law. In most countries, there's a list of crimes that are considered so terrible that someone might face the worst punishment. Murder, terrorism, things that hurt other people in the worst possible ways. In North Korea, the list is different. Very different. You can face death for watching a movie from South Korea, or for sharing a song from another country, for trying to leave North Korea and cross the border, for saying something negative about the government leaders, for practicing certain religions, even for making a phone call to someone in another country. The government recently made the list even longer. They added 5 more types of crimes. Now there are 16 different categories of actions that could lead to the ultimate punishment. Think about that. 16 different ways to cross an invisible line you might not even know exists. But here's where it gets stranger. The punishment isn't always quick. It isn't always private. And it isn't always just for the person accused. Kim was a teenager when she watched it happen for the first time. She lived in a small city in North Korea. One day, soldiers came to her school and told all the students to go to the market square. Not asked, told. When Kim and her classmates arrived, there was already a crowd. Hundreds of people standing in a circle around an empty space. 3 wooden posts stood in the center. Kim didn't understand what was happening at first. Then the soldiers brought out 3 people. Their hands were tied behind their backs. Their heads were covered with cloth bags. They were tied to the wooden posts while everyone watched in silence. An officer with a megaphone announced what these people had done. They had watched movies from South Korea. They had shared them with others. This was a crime against the state. Kim was forced to watch what came next. All the students were, all the adults were. Looking away wasn't allowed. Closing your eyes would be noticed. The soldiers had guns pointed at the crowd, too, not just at the 3 people tied to the posts. She never forgot the sound. This wasn't a secret trial in some hidden building. This was in public, in the middle of a market, where people bought vegetables and clothes, where children played. The government wanted everyone to see. They wanted everyone to remember. This is what happens when you break the rules. But why do they do it this way? What makes the North Korean system so different from anywhere else? Keep watching, because what we're about to reveal will shock you. Most countries that still use capital punishment do it in private, behind prison walls. Only a few officials are present. There are procedures, documents, appeals processes. It might take years. In North Korea, it can happen within hours of the decision being made. Researchers have identified 318 different locations where public executions have taken place. Not 318 people. 318 different places, markets, school grounds, river banks, fields, sports stadiums, places where normal life happens. They choose these places on purpose. The execution becomes a message written in the most terrible ink and a language everyone understands. Obey, or this will be you. A woman named Hee defected from North Korea years ago. She remembers being 7 years old when she attended her first public execution. 7. The Same age when most kids around the world are learning multiplication and losing their baby teeth. She remembers the soldiers making people clap and cheer afterward. If you didn't clap loud enough, if you didn't look enthusiastic enough, someone might report you. Then you might be next. The trials before these executions are nothing like trials in other countries. There's usually no real lawyer to defend the accused person, no jury of regular citizens, no opportunity to present evidence in your favor. Sometimes the trial lasts just a few minutes. Sometimes there's no trial at all. One defector described a trial that lasted less than an hour for a person accused of crossing the border into China. The judge asked a few questions. The person tried to explain why they left. They were starving. Their family was dying. The judge didn't care about the reasons. The decision was already made before the trial started. 3 days later, there was an execution. The methods vary. Sometimes it's a firing squad, several soldiers shooting at once. Sometimes it's hanging. But reports have described other methods too. Methods that sound so brutal, they're hard to believe. Methods that seem designed not just to end a life, but to create maximum fear in everyone watching. Some people have reported seeing executions carried out with anti-aircraft guns, weapons designed to shoot down airplanes. Others mentioned mortar weapons that fire explosive shells. These reports are hard to verify because North Korea doesn't let investigators in. But multiple defectors who didn't know each other have described the same things. UN investigators have considered these testimonies credible. Why would they use such extreme methods? The answer is simple and terrible: fear. The more dramatic and horrible the execution, the more afraid people become. And fear is how the government stays in control. But public executions aren't the only way people die. There's another system. A hidden system that most North Koreans know about but never discuss openly. A system of camps scattered across the mountains and remote areas of the country. These camps don't appear on official maps. Satellites can see them from space, but the government pretends they don't exist. They're called kwanliso in Korean. Political prison camps. If you're sent to one of these camps, you probably won't come back. Entire families disappear into them. Not just the person who allegedly committed a crime, but their parents, their children, their siblings. 3 generations can be punished for one person's action. This is called collective punishment, and it's illegal under international law. But international law doesn't reach into North Korea. Imagine being arrested because your uncle said something negative about the government. You didn't say it. You might not even agree with it. But you're related to him, so you're guilty too. Your children are guilty. Your parents are guilty. The camps hold somewhere between 80,000 and 120,000 people. Maybe more. Nobody knows the exact number because the government won't say. Former guards who have defected describe conditions that sound medieval. Starvation is common, disease spreads unchecked. Medical care is non-existent or nearly so. People work from before sunrise until after sunset. Mining coal, cutting trees, making cement. Growing food they're not allowed to eat. The work is dangerous. Accidents happen constantly. When someone dies, they're buried in unmarked graves, and work continues. Park was imprisoned in one of these camps as a child because of something his grandfather allegedly did. He doesn't even know what the crime was. He spent 9 years there before managing to escape from North Korea entirely. He described watching people die from starvation, from accidents, from exposure to cold. He described punishments for tiny infractions, an extra beating for picking up a kernel of corn from the ground to eat. Inside these camps, executions happen too, but there's no public announcement, no crowd forced to watch. Just a person taken away who never returns. Other prisoners learn to stop asking questions. Curiosity is dangerous. The camps operate on a simple principle. Isolate the enemies of the state where they can't spread their ideas, work them until they can't work anymore, and make sure they never leave. But who decides who's an enemy? The answer is, almost anyone can decide you're an enemy. Your neighbor? Your co-worker? your teacher, even your own family member. North Korea has a system where citizens are encouraged, sometimes required, to report on each other. It's called mutual surveillance, and it turns everyone into a potential spy. Every neighborhood has what's called an inminban, a small group of families who are supposed to watch each other. There's a leader, usually someone the government trusts, who keeps track of everyone, where they go, who visits them, what they talk about, whether they seem loyal enough. Meetings happen regularly, sometimes weekly. People are expected to confess their own small mistakes and report on others. Did your neighbor complain about the food shortage? Did someone's child ask a suspicious question? Better report it, or you might be accused of hiding information. This creates a terrible trap. If you don't report something and someone else does, you become suspicious too. Why didn't you speak up? Are you protecting enemies of the state? Are you an enemy yourself? Young-A defected in 2017. She described how her own mother reported her uncle for listening to South Korean radio broadcasts. Her mother cried while doing it, Young-A said. But she did it anyway, because not reporting him would have put the entire family at risk. The uncle was executed 6 months later. The family never spoke about it again. This system means trust becomes almost impossible. How can you trust your neighbor when they might report you for extra food rations? How can you confide in a friend when that friend might need to prove their loyalty by betraying you? And the rules keep changing. Something that was acceptable last year might be a capital offense this year. Under the current leader, Kim Jong-un, the government has been especially harsh about foreign media. Movies, TV shows, music, even fashion styles from South Korea, China, or anywhere else have become extremely dangerous. In 2020, North Korea passed a law specifically about reactionary thought and culture. The punishment for watching or distributing foreign media became much more severe. The law explicitly includes the death penalty for serious violations. What counts as serious, the government decides. There's no clear line, no safe zone. A teenager was reportedly executed in 2022 for watching and sharing South Korean movies. Just a teenager. Think about what teenagers around the world do every day: watch movies, listen to music, share things with friends. Normal activities. In North Korea, these normal things can get you killed. But here's something that makes the system even more sinister. The executions aren't consistent. Two people might commit the same crime. One gets sent to a labor camp for 10 years. The other faces execution. Why? Sometimes it depends on who you know. If your family has connections with the Workers' Party, if someone powerful can speak for you, you might get a lighter punishment. If you're poor, if you're from a family the government already considers questionable, the punishment will be harsher. This randomness creates more fear. You can't even predict what will happen if you're caught. There's no formula, no guaranteed outcome. It's like playing a deadly lottery, where you don't know the rules. The legal process, when there is one, offers almost no real defense. Lawyers in North Korea don't work the way lawyers do in other countries. They're not there to defend you against the state. They're part of the state. Their job is to help the process move smoothly, not to protect your rights or prove your innocence. Evidence rules are flexible. Confessions are considered the best evidence, even when those confessions are obtained through torture. Human rights investigators have documented extensive torture in North Korean prisons and detention centers. Sleep deprivation, beating, electric shock, stress positions where you have to stay in painful positions for hours or days. When someone confesses after that treatment, is it a real confession? Does it matter if the confession is true? In North Korea's system, the confession itself is what matters. It validates the arrest, justifies the punishment, and reinforces the government's power. Jeon-mi Park is one of the most well-known North Korean defectors. She's spoken internationally about her experiences. She described how fear was the most constant feeling in North Korea. You're afraid of your neighbors, your teachers, even your own thoughts, she said in interviews. You learn to police yourself because the punishment for stepping out of line is too terrible to risk. This is the reality for millions of people right now, today, as you watch this video. If this information is shocking to you, imagine living it every single day. Hit that subscribe button to stay informed about human rights issues around the world. And leave a comment. What do you think the international community should do about this situation? The international community has tried to respond. The United Nations has conducted investigations. Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, and other organizations have documented abuses. Countries have imposed sanctions, but North Korea remains isolated and defiant. In 2014, the UN Commission of Inquiry on Human Rights in North Korea published a massive report. It documented executions, torture, starvation, forced labor crimes against humanity happening on a vast scale. The report recommended referring North Korean leaders to the International Criminal Court for prosecution. Nothing happened. China and Russia, both powerful UN Security Council members, blocked any action. North Korea continued as before. Defectors continue to escape, though it's become harder. The borders are more heavily guarded. China, where most escapees flee first, has an agreement with North Korea to send defectors back. Being sent back almost guarantees severe punishment, possibly execution for treason, because you tried to leave. The journey out is incredibly dangerous. People hide in mountains for days. They cross frozen rivers in winter. They pay smugglers who sometimes betray them. Women and girls are particularly vulnerable to human trafficking. Many who escape are caught and sent back. Those who make it out often carry crushing guilt about the family members they left behind, who may now face punishment because of their escape. But they keep trying because living under the constant threat of execution for unknowable offenses becomes unbearable. The death penalty in North Korea isn't just about punishment for crimes. It's a tool of control. It's a message sent over and over. The government has total power over life and death, and there's nothing you can do about it. It creates a society where everyone walks carefully, speaks carefully, even thinks carefully, where children learn to be afraid before they learn to read, where trust is a luxury nobody can afford, where the wrong words, the wrong movie, the wrong friend, the wrong thought could mean the end of everything. In most countries, the justice system is supposed to protect people from government abuse. In North Korea, the justice system is how the government abuses people. Former prosecutors who have defected describe receiving orders about verdicts before trials even began. The decision was already made. The trial was just a performance, a way to make it look official. Defense attorneys often told their clients to confess and show remorse, even if they were innocent, because fighting the charges would only make the punishment worse. Appeals are theoretically possible, but practically meaningless. The same government that prosecuted you reviews your appeal. The same government that wants to make an example of you decides whether to show mercy. Mercy is rare. Executions have reportedly decreased slightly in recent years, but researchers believe this might just mean they're becoming more secret rather than less frequent. Public executions were useful for spreading fear, but they also gave information to the outside world. Defectors would describe what they saw. Satellite images would sometimes capture crowds gathered. The government may have decided that secret executions serve their purpose better. The camps remain full. The arrests continue. The system grinds on. What makes this especially tragic is that many North Koreans caught up in this system aren't criminals by any reasonable definition. They're people who got hungry and crossed a border looking for food. People who were curious about the outside world and watched a forbidden movie. People who practiced their religion in secret. People who were related to someone the government didn't like. The crimes aren't real crimes. They're political designations. You're an enemy because the government says you're an enemy. And once you're labeled an enemy, there's no process to prove them wrong. There are stories of hope, though. Stories of people who escaped and built new lives, who learned to trust again, who found freedom. Some dedicate their lives to helping others escape or to exposing what's happening inside North Korea. They speak at universities, write books, give interviews, testify before governments. These survivors carry psychological scars, nightmares, fear that somehow the North Korean government will reach them, even in South Korea, even in America, even in Europe. Some are afraid to use their real names, but they speak anyway because silence means letting the world forget, and forgetting would be the worst thing we could do. Right now, today, people in North Korea are living under this system. Children are going to schools where they might be forced to watch executions. Families are whispering in their homes, afraid someone might overhear. People are starving in camps, dying in silence, buried in unmarked graves. This isn't ancient history. This isn't a story from 100 years ago. This is happening now in 2026 in a country that has nuclear weapons and a seat at international discussions. The death penalty in North Korea isn't about justice. It never was. It's about power. It's about making sure that 26 million people stay afraid enough, broken enough, isolated enough, that they never question who's in charge. It's about making sure that everyone knows, step out of line and you disappear. The world knows this is happening. Reports exist. Evidence exists. Testimony exists. Satellite images exist. The question isn't whether these horrors are real. The question is what anyone is willing to do about it. For now, the camps remain. The executions continue. The fear persists. And millions of people wake up each day in a country where saying the wrong thing, thinking the wrong thought, or watching the wrong movie might mean they never see another sunrise. This is the death penalty in North Korea. Not a legal system, but a weapon. Not justice, but terror. Not punishment for crimes, but control through fear. And it works. It's been working for over 7 decades. That's perhaps the most chilling fact of all.